Hi friends. Online friends, just confirm that you can hear me correctly. Thank you. So please close your eyes for a bit. Quick recap. Brother, yes. Tell me, what did we discuss in the last lecture? Division of labor. What do you understand by division of labor? Wonderful. What is the name of Durkheim's book?
Division of labor in society.
Wonderful. What is his broad argument in the book? And okay, transformation from pre-modern to modern society. What do we see? It affects the whole of the society. And is it beneficial for the society? Yes, it is. How? Absolutely. So the greater interdependence because of skill specialization or the emergence of a complex division of labor results in interdependence between its members, and this interdependence is the source of solidarity. And what is this solidarity called? The solidarity which exists in modern society due to interdependence is known as brother. Only brother. Come on. Not revised? You have revised? Then that's a very basic term. Brother? Organic solidarity. And what is the basis for solidarity in the pre-modern society? Beta. Huh? Or sameness, homogeneity. Okay? And this is called mechanical solidarity. Wonderful. What do you understand, brother? In green, yes. What do you understand by anomy? I asked you. Huh. Absolutely. So it's a state of normlessness as a society transitions from a pre-modern to a modern society. Or tell me more about anomy, brother. Yes. वंडरफुल. ठीक है. सो लोग खुश होते हैं या दुखी होते हैं ननोमी? यस. Absolutely. Good. And when does this state end, or does it remain forever? So when does it end? Absolutely. When the new norms completely replace the old ones. And what do we call that state? कैसा समाज होता है वो? It is modern society, simply. है ना? ठीक है. Then यहीं तक किया था हमने. What are the different abnormal forms of division of labor? Beti, engrossed in notes. Yes. What are the abnormal forms of division of labor? What is anomic division of labor? When new norms are not yet set in the society. That is not very satisfactory explanation. Beti, what is anomic division of labor? What is anomic division of labor? नहीं पढ़ा? गंदी बात. Brother? Absent? So assured he is. Absent. क्या कर लोगे? Beti? Sorry? No clear guidance, absolutely, particularly pertaining to economic activity. Very good. Then what is the other type? Forced division of labor, which is what? Wonderful. And give me an example of forced division of labor. Beti, at the back. Raise your hand. Yes. Example of forced division of labor. I have to become a civil servant for dancing. So that is like forced division of labor. ठीक है. Or what is the third type of? Meaning what? Okay. All right. ठीक है. And then we discussed solutions. So tell me, brother. Yes. Formation of associations. And also help, like also explain how that will help.
And behavioral guidelines for a certain profession. Basically,
which tend to do what?
Demarcation of responsibilities.
Inculcate a sense of societal concern or responsibilities towards the society and its members and temper the greed of the members. That is what they do. ठीक है. You know, we'll have to be very brief in how we write things, particularly while writing. बोलने में तो we can, but while writing we'll have to be very brief in our communication. Or Beti, what are the solutions? Policy interventions. Give me examples. State can do what? Like Jan Dhan Yojana. Okay. ठीक है. ठीक है. Beti? Yes. Another solution? Contract. Yes. Formal written document between two parties. Yes. So? Wonderful. ठीक है. So this is what we had covered. अब चलते हैं आगे. Now we have to. Okay, tell me. The question is, what is the difference between anomic division of labor and inadequate organization? The two are different in the sense anomic division of labor refers to a broader sense of normlessness throughout the economy, while inadequate organization, when we say, we are saying that the area of responsibility is not very clearly demarcated and communicated to the incumbent of a particular occupational role. Okay, so that is what. Can you please call someone from the outside? ठीक है, brother. He's saying, what about anomic type conditions, or say confusion, a state of confusion and chaos in a society which is regarded as having become already modern? So, the way Durkheim sees it, anomy does not exist in a modern society. It exists during the stage of transition, or when a society is inching towards modernity. But, and in a modern society, according to Durkheim, there are clear guidelines, clear norms. Okay, so it's a transitional stage of unhappiness and chaos and confusion. But then there are other scholars whom we'll study later, like R.K. Merton. He does consider that anomy is a feature of fully modern 20th century American society. Okay, so different scholars would view the situation differently, and we will study about Merton's views. He also defines anomy slightly differently. We'll discuss Merton's views when we come to it. Betty? Why does he use the term mechanical solidarity for traditional and organic solidarity for the new society or modern society? It is mechanical in the solidarity in the traditional society is mechanical in the sense it is arising out of sameness of the people. Okay? So it is mechanical in that sense, and organic in the sense in modern society because of interdependence, like in an organism. Like you have in an organism, different parts are interdependent. Similarly, in the modern society, people are greatly interdependent on each other, and hence the use of the term organic solidarity. 1 second now. One comment is, there's no word like anti-positivism in Nitin Sangwan. Everywhere it is mentioned as non-positivism. You can legitimately use non-positivism. It's a broader term which includes anti-positivism and what we call post-positivists. The subjective dimension, the next comment from the same student says, the subjective dimension is mentioned as non or anti-positivism. I don't know what to make of that comment, frankly. There's a question type comment which says, at the time of anomy, norms are unable to be adopted by people because of rampant changes, or norms do not exist. Either norms do not exist or conflicting norms exist. Okay? Priya, what is the issue that you're facing? You'll have to pen it down, type it. which scholar has defined Indian society as anomic? I don't recollect any particular scholar having said that, but in general we can, right? That is how we apply sociological concepts or theories, and it would be legitimate to do so. If you are able to provide legitimate examples to buttress your usage of that term, all right? So that is that. Quick comments, because today we have to finish Durkheim. Finish as in complete Durkheim. Huh. Can we stop the crosstalk? Bete, can we stop the crosstalk? Listen to other students' comments also. You will also somewhere benefit, for sure. So her question is, can we say, there is no clear definition of modern society. The more recent society is more modern than in the past. So that is why can we say anomy is a forever kind of a condition. A, it is incorrect to say that there is no clear definition or concept of modern society. Why I say that? The word modern origins does mean, new or current. But modern society as we understand it in the social sciences, history, political science, sociology, does refer to a particular type of society which emerged in the West, Europe and US after the French and Industrial Revolutions. Characterized by the importance of science and rationality, decline of religion, nuclear family, urban living, industrial economy, bureaucracy, nation state. That society which emerged is what we call the modern society. Okay? And as we proceed in our understanding of society, the West is, at say after the Second World War, or say after about 1950, the Western world is said to have entered the next phase of its social evolution, what we call the post-modern society. Okay? So modern society is a historical type that emerged in the aftermath of the French and Industrial Revolutions. Okay? And post-modern society kya hai, we'll study later. But one broad difference would be modern society was characterized by industrial manufacturing as the main economic mainstay of economy. In the postmodern economy, it is a service sector dominated economy. What we call information age, knowledge economy, all of that. Okay? So, and several other changes also. Okay? तो ऐसा कहना सही नहीं है. दूसरा, can we say that anomy also exists in the modern society, which was the core of your question? Durkheim would disagree with it. But as I said, another scholar, R.K. Merton, would agree with that. That anomy exists in 20th century modern American society. ठीक है? चलिए, अब चलते हैं आगे, जानने दो. चलो, मतलब साथ में. हाँ, चलो. तो, moving on to the next topic. So we have two topics left from Durkheim, social facts and suicide. आप लोग पहले क्या करना चाहोगे? सुइसाइड करने को आप लोग उतारू हो. सो लेट अस बिगिन विद सोशल फैक्ट्स. ठीक है? There is no democracy in the classroom. Okay? Now one comment which has come up, I think we haven't compared sociology with economics and anthropology that's mentioned in Sangwan. We will do it later. Okay? Chaliye. Coming to social facts. Now what are social facts? I'll explain in just a while. But first understand what was the context in which Durkheim gave this concept of social facts. Durkheim, friends, was one of the founding fathers of sociology, the academic discipline of sociology, right? Before him, there was no subject called sociology in the academia. In the academic world, there was no subject called sociology. In fact, He is the guy credited with having established the first department of sociology in Europe. He is the guy credited with having established the first or launched the first journal of sociology in Europe. ठीक है? Now, as one of the founding fathers, it fell upon him to define what is the distinctive subject matter of this new discipline. And it was in this context that he articulated the concept of social facts. उनकी जिम्मेवारी थी, उनका बीड़ा था कि वो बताएं कि इस नए डिसिप्लिन का सब्जेक्ट मैटर क्या होगा. And it was in this context that he gave the concept of social facts. Durkheim said कि what is the subject matter of sociology? It is social facts. Sociology is the study of social facts. This is not the definition of social facts. That I'll give you separately. But this is the context. ठीक है? So social facts, according to Durkheim, constitute the subject matter of the discipline of sociology. Why must he clearly define the subject matter of this new discipline? When sociology was being established as an academic discipline, yani during Durkheim's times, it faced opposition from some of the established branches of knowledge. It faced resistance from some other subjects, other university departments, particularly psychology and philosophy. The disciplines, the departments of psychology and philosophy opposed. Most prominently they opposed, and other disciplines also opposed the establishment of sociology as a distinctive discipline. Why? What's to them? उनको क्या चले? Why should they oppose? सोचो, बताओ. That is what they said. कि भैया, these are what is it really new that this subject is investigating? We guys are already writing and teaching and discussing about the same things. ठीक है? This was the stated reason. And the real reason? This was the rationale for opposing. But what was the... For... You're right, competition for funding. यूनिवर्सिटी में नया डिपार्टमेंट बनेगा तो पैसा जाएगा ना उधर रिसर्च के लिए. वहां नहीं जाएगा तो हमारे पास आएगा. ठीक है? बड़े बड़े एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस में ऐसे छोटी छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं. खैर, द ब्रॉडर कॉन्टेक्स्ट बीइंग दैट द डिसिप्लिन ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी at the time of its establishment faced some stiff resistance or opposition from the existing branches of knowledge like philosophy and psychology. So it was in this context that Durkheim set out to demarcate the subject matter of this new science of society. He wanted to identify what was specifically the subject area of, or the subject matter of sociology. So he said this sociology is the study of social facts, which are different from psychological facts or biological facts. Are you with me? तो हम वो नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं जो वो पढ़ रहे हैं, हम कुछ अलग पढ़ रहे हैं. हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं? सोशल फैक्ट्स. And by formulating this concept of social facts, Durkheim was, to a very good extent, able to give this subject of sociology, then emerging subject of sociology, its distinctive identity, its niche subject matter, ठीक, which distinguished it from the other disciplines. This concept of social facts developed by Durkheim, helped to give sociology a distinctive subject matter. ठीक है? A distinctive identity of its own. Clear? अब है क्या? Let us come to that. Simply put, friends, I'll give you the proper definition also, but very simply. Social facts are what? Different social phenomena. Social phenomena in the sense, those which are socially decided, which are decided by the society and imposed on the individual. They are social facts. Whatever the society decides and compels the individual to comply, those are social facts. I'll give you the formal definition. For example, language. Is the language for an individual in a given society, is it a given or not? Given matlab, is it decided by the society or chosen by an individual? Decided by the society. So I speak Hindi because I was born in a Hindi speaking Samaj. Somebody would speak Marathi if they are born in a Marathi speaking society, and so on and so forth. So language for me is a given. Given in the sense it is imposed on me by the society. ठीक? Thanks. Are you with me? So whatever the society decides, society provides and imposes on the individual members, that is social facts. This is not how you write it. This is only how you understand it. How you write it is as follows. According to Durkheim, social facts are collective ways of acting, feeling, and thinking. Collective ways of acting, feeling, and thinking that are external to the individual. That are external to the individual. Pause here, it's an incomplete definition. Leave a few lines before you write anything else. Okay, let's understand this much part. These are collective. That's the first important or key word here. They are collective. So it's not what I think or it's not what I do. It is what we do. Are you with me? These are collective, necessarily or by nature they are collective or societal. Simply. Collective ways of acting, feeling and thinking. So what we do as a collectivity or as a society, what we think, what we feel. So what I do, for example, religion is a social fact. So what I do, the way I worship. So I keep diya in a thali and I do this. This is what? Is this something only I do? No, it is something we do in Hindu society. Are you with me? Then I have some thinking about God, about divinity, about whatever. Sri Ram, Sri Krishna. Is it something that only I think? It is what we think. Are you with me? So these are collective ways of acting, feeling and thinking that are external to the individual. Please appreciate, social facts exist outside the individual. For example, I am a Hindi speaker. I am a Hindu by religion. So does that mean that all of Hindi is within me? Hindi exists within me or outside of me? Outside of me. Yes or no? Hinduism exists within me or outside of me? Outside of me. Are you with me? So they are external to the individual. Continue writing. I repeat, social facts are collective ways of acting, feeling and thinking that are external to the individual and endowed with the power of coercion. And endowed with the power of coercion endowed means it's still incomplete. Endowed means blessed with or imbued with or it has simply. You know? What do you say? How do you explain endowed? It has simply. It has the power of coercion. Okay? It is blessed with in a way. You know? I'm endowed with big muscles. Something like that. Okay? I'm not, but those who are. Okay? It is endowed with the power of coercion. Coercion means the ability to force. It can force. It is and endowed with the power of coercion by reason of which they control him. By reason of which they control him. In other words, the individual will have to submit to the power of the social facts. Social facts can impose themselves. The individual doesn't have too much choice to follow or not follow social facts. They are a given for him. Yes or no? Say I'm living in a Hindi speaking society. Can I say कि मैं तो नहीं बोलूंगा हिंदी? मैं तो फ्रेंच बोलूंगा? Can I do that? So if I go to a guy in a Hindi speaking society and start speaking fluent French, क्या करेगा वो? If he is a हरियाणा का ताऊ or a यूपी का भैया, what will he do? He'll say कि क्या बोल रहा है? है ना? He'll say चल आगे बढ़. ठीक है? Or whatever. So point is, I will not be entertained. So if I have to get my point across, if I have any needs that need to be fulfilled by the society, चाय पीनी है मुझे, फ्रेंच में जाके मांग लूंगा तो मिल जाएगी हरियाणा के गांव में चाय? नहीं, I'll have to speak in Hindi. So Hindi has the power of coercion. It can compel, it can force the individual members to comply. Are you with me? So these are social facts. This is a fancy full definition. What they simply are, they are those aspects of our lives which are decided by the society and imposed on the individuals. Simply put, the various social norms are social facts. Society's values are social facts. Social institutions are social facts. समझ रहे हो आप? लिख लो कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स. लैंग्वेज, religion, law, the forms of marriage, all these are social facts. So if I am a part of Indian society, what kind of marriage will I enter into? Arranged marriage, or within my own community or caste, my religious community, my caste, and so on and so forth. ठीक है? क्योंकि कौन तय करता है? समाज और सोसाइटी तय करती है, and the individual submits. Right? So, social facts have the following characteristics. Social facts have the following characteristics. So please appreciate, firstly, before I come to the characteristics, let us just sum it up, that Durkheim developed this concept of social facts to give the discipline of sociology its distinctive identity, its own subject matter, and he defined social facts in this way as collective ways of acting, feeling, and thinking, external to the individual and endowed with the power of coercion by reason of which they control him. And having thus defined them, he distinguished the subject matter of sociology from the other facts, from psychological facts or demographic or other type of facts. Okay? Because these are, the social facts are rooted in the society. They are rooted in group sentiment. Okay? Then according to Durkheim, may I proceed? Social facts have the following characteristics. He talks about 4 characteristics of social facts. Four characteristics of social facts. The first is externality. And some of these aspects we've already touched upon. Externality means what? That social facts are external to the individual. They are outside of the individual members of the society. Like I said, language exists where? Outside of the individual. Yes or no? Tell me, does it only exist on the outside or also inside of me? Outside of me or also inside of me? Clearly also inside of me. तभी तो अंदर से निकल रही है बाहर हिंदी. Yes or no? But when we say it is characterized by externality, what we mean? That it is not all, सारी हिंदी मेरे अंदर तो नहीं समा गई. Yes or no? Hindi has an independent outside existence. Or language, religion, law, I am merely a specimen. I am merely one example of a Hindi speaking person or a Hindu. Yes or no? But Hinduism, Hindi language, these exist outside of me or the individual members of the society. Clear? Please likho. According to Sri Dorkheim, every individual is born into an existing society every individual is born into an existing society with a definite social organization. Full stop. There are various social norms and values he finds ready-made at birth. He finds ready-made at birth. Now, how did I have the language existed before I was born? Religion existed before I was born. I was born into this society where this religion, where this language, where these set of laws, etc. already existed. And how did I have them inside of me? Through socialization. ठीक है ना? Absolutely. तो लिखो, क्या लिखा बेटी? Repeat the sentence.
There are various social norms and values he finds relevant
And learns through the process of socialization. Learns through the process of socialization. Full stop. However, these exist prior to the individual and are external to him. Yes or no? That is why we say they are external. हिंदी ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्ट कर रही थी, मैं पैदा हुआ, मैंने थोड़ी सी हिंदी पी ली है ना, बट हिंदी अभी भी और पहले भी और मेरे बाद भी बाहर एग्जिस्ट करेगी. इट हैज एन इंडिपेंडेंट आउटसाइड एग्जिस्टेंस. क्लियर? सेकेंड इज इंडिपेंडेंस. Social facts are independent. Independent of what? Yeah? Social facts are independent of what? हाँ बिल्कुल. So they are independent of the will of the individual members of the society. Social facts are independent of the will or choice of the individual members of the society. Individual may like them or not like them. Will the social fact cease to exist? No. Social facts will continue to exist. Lot of you may not like the concept of arranged marriage. But does arranged marriage continue to exist? Yes, it does. It is not dependent on you liking it or not liking it. In fact, many of you will end up also doing arranged marriage. Why? This social fact has an independent existence and it will extract compliance. Likewise, you may not like caste marriage within one's caste, but करोगे क्या? Marriage within one's caste. ठीक है? It's a social fact. देखना जब शादी होगी. ठीक है? Social facts are independent in two ways. A lot of you might be, say, atheistic in your personal orientation. मैं नहीं मानता भगवान क्या है ये सब, श्री राम, श्री गणेश and whatever. Yes or no? ये सब तो किस्से कहानियां हैं या गप है या whatever. क्या उससे हिंदुइज्म खत्म हो जाएगा? नहीं. It's a social fact. So these are independent of the will, choice, inclination of the individual members of the society. ठीक? Secondly, they are also independent in another sense. In the sense that they are independent, social facts are independent of their individual manifestations. Social facts are independent of its individual manifestations. Arthat, meaning what? Like I said, I am an individual manifestation or an example or an instance of Hindi bhasha. Yes or no? I am one specimen, one example or a manifestation of Hindi language or Hinduism. I will die tomorrow. Will Hindi language die? No, it will stay on. So many Hindi speakers will die. Many Hindus will die, individual members of the society, but the social facts, will they continue to exist? The answer is yes. So they are independent of the individual manifestations. Persons will come and go, but social facts will continue to exist in the society. है कि नहीं? ठीक. Thirdly, social facts are constraining in character. Social facts are constraining in character. What do you mean by to constrain? To restrict, limit the choices. Yes or no? In other words, friends, the individual members of the society are not free to do as they please. They must conform to the social facts. I am not free to speak any which language which I want. I am not free to wear any kind of clothes which I want. I am not free to eat any kind of food which I want. I am not free to have any kind of sexual behavior that I want. I am not free when it comes to anything. Yes or no? Because my behavior is completely guided by, shaped by, controlled by, constrained by सोशल फैक्ट्स. समाज निर्धारित करता है और उसके हिसाब से मैं यानी हम सब, द इंडिविजुअल मेंबर्स ऑफ द सोसाइटी, चलते हैं. So social facts exert themselves on the individual. They extract compliance from the individual. And what happens if some individual does not comply? He says, मैं तो मैं हूं, समाज गया भाड़ में. Then what happens? Social control mechanisms will be applied. So that is what social facts are capable of. That is what. That is how social facts ensure that they are adhered to. So if some individual member of the society tries to not conform to the social facts, not succumb to the social facts, then various social control mechanisms would be applied on the individual. Yes or no? The fourth characteristic of social facts is generality. Generality. Generality meaning social facts are generalized in character. Social facts are generalized in character. Meaning क्या? कि all the members of the society in general follow the social facts. It's not one or few persons, but the members of society at large or in general follow social facts. So social facts are spread throughout the society. ठीक है? So point is, friends, we look at what most members of the society do. It's not about exceptions. You might say, कि sir क्या arranged marriage? I know my friend got married like he had a love marriage. Are you with me? You might find ikka dukka cases, exceptions everywhere. But social facts are generalized in character. They are what most people, most members of the society are acting, thinking and feeling. ठीक है? These are the characteristics or features of social facts. Durkheim, moving on, Durkheim talks about two types of social facts. Social facts can be of two types, namely material social facts and इममटीरियल तो गलत शब्द हो जाएगा. इममटीरियल की कोई मायने नहीं रखता. इट इज इममटीरियल. नॉन मटीरियल सोशल फैक्ट्स, मटीरियल सोशल फैक्ट्स और नॉन मटीरियल सोशल फैक्ट्स. Material social facts are what? They are those which are directly observable. Directly observable. Non-material social facts are wonderful, those which are not directly observable. Those which are not directly observable. For example, technology. Tools and technology are which type of social facts? Material social facts. Architectural styles are material social facts. Laws are material social facts. But values are non-material social facts. Norms of the society are non-material. Conscience collective is non-material. ठीक है? Durkheim, friends, not only gave us this concept of social facts, which helped us to give a distinctive identity to the new discipline of sociology, he also gave a detailed methodology to study social facts. So he helped us to identify both the subject matter of the new science of society and the methodology which is to be applied in research. ठीक है? In his book titled Rules of the Sociological Method, किताब का नाम Rules of the Sociological Method. Rules of the Sociological Method is the title of Durkheim's book, where he outlines in detail the methodology to study social facts. Do we have any inkling about his methodology? Which method does he propose? Yes? The scientific method. He's a positivist. We've already discussed that earlier. So whatever basically he'll be saying, it is basically using the scientific method in a nutshell. Okay? But in some greater detail, he does propose several rules to be kept in mind or followed during sociological research as follows. A. Rules for observation of social facts. Rules for observation of social facts. Yeah. Certain rules he proposed for the observation of social facts. Within that, write the first rule. And write the first and foremost rule is, likho ye bhi shabd. The first and foremost rule is that treat social facts as things. Very good. Treat social facts as things, vastuein. Meaning what? That sociological researchers should have the same attitude, same orientation towards their subject matter as natural science researchers do, as the physicist or the chemist does. मतलब कि they have to treat it like a thing. Thing as in directly observable, empirically capturable. It can be quantified, measured, and the data so obtained be processed using statistical tools and techniques. They have to be treated as things, matlab observable, measured and quantified. And then empirical processing of the data using statistical tools and techniques. When he says treat social facts as things, it also implies, friends, that social facts are real or imaginary. They are real. Just like things are. Just like this phone is real, likewise, social facts are for real. They have an objective reality. Social facts, when we say they have to be treated as things, it means we have to treat them empirically. Not based out of, say, intuition, hunch, anything of that sort. ठीक? Second dimension, second aspect, second rule for observation only. I'm not moving ahead yet. What else is very essential before you can scientifically capture anything? Objectivity, absolutely correct, that I'll come to in a bit. Even before that, सोचो, लॉजिकली सोचो, एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन करते समय व्हाट डू यू नीड टू डू? इंक्वायरी, controlled environment, all of that is fine, but how do you capture things statistically? Biasness, that's mentioned and agreed. सर्वे तो बाद में आएगा ना, उससे पहले you begin with a clear, precise definition of the phenomena being studied. तभी तो कैप्चर करोगे. डॉर्कहाइम ने सुइसाइड स्टडी किया, as we'll study later. Right? First you need to define suicides very precisely, that which all deaths you will be regarding as suicide for the purposes of your study. Yes or no? तो लिखो a clear definition. The sociologist, within the rules for observation of social facts, first was you treat social facts as things. The second is the sociologist must clearly define and demarcate the phenomena being studied. ठीक है? Third point, the sociologist must discard क्या चीज? क्या चीज फेंक देनी चाहिए? वेरी गुड. Must discard any preconceived notions. Discard any preconceived notions that dominate the minds, of ordinary men. Remember, now that you have donned the cap of a sociologist, you are no more ordinary people, right? You are scientists. You are scientists. You are undertaking a scientific study of the society. So you must discard any. So for example, you are a Hindu, you are a Jew, you are whatever. Durkheim was a Jew. You may be a Hindu or a Muslim or whatever. And you will have some preconceived notions about religion, about family life, about the role of men and women in society, and loads of things. You must keep them all aside. क्या लिखा है बेटी? And adopt an emotionally neutral attitude. While studying social facts. ठीक है? Give me one word for this whole sentence. Objectivity. Simply Durkheim is proposing objectivity here. That क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? Researcher, he should have an emotionally detached, neutral kind of an attitude. Right? You would have a family life of your own. But while studying family as a social fact, You don't let your personal experiences, your prior, say, religious notions of family life or whatever, affect the empirical, statistical, scientific analysis of family life. ठीक? Second मतलब B. First was, A was rules for observation of social facts. B, rules for distinguishing between normal and pathological social facts. Rules for distinguishing between normal and pathological social facts. What do you understand by normal social facts? Normal social facts, likho, a social fact is considered as normal when it is generally encountered in a society. When it is generally encountered in a society. ठीक? Any deviation from this standard is क्या? Pathological. Any deviation from this standard is pathological. Now a very interesting example. How do you see law? Is it a normal social fact or a pathological one? Normal. It's a normal social fact. How about crime? Crime means what? Breaking of the law, violation of the law. What is crime? Normal या pathological? Absolutely correct. Whoever said that. Durkheim suggests that a certain degree of crime is normal. A certain degree of crime is normal. Why is it normal? Because a certain degree of crime always exists in every society. Simply put, friends, there is no crime-free society. Okay, there has never been. Except for this wonderful Tom Cruise movie. I think Minority Report. है ना? जिसमें they have these precogs. ठीक है? That was science fiction. But in reality, there is no crime-free society. Crime exists in every healthy, functioning, orderly society. Not only does it exist a certain degree of crime. Crime, you tell me, is it functional or beneficial for the society or harmful for the society? A certain degree of crime is also to an extent beneficial or functional for the society. A certain degree of crime is also functional. So it is normal in both senses. It always exists in every society. There is no crime-free society, and it also serves some social needs or meets some societal needs. It is somehow beneficial for the society, which is very counterintuitive. You know, intuitively one would feel कि वो भी coming from a functionalist, कि भैया they are all about stability, law and order and peace and harmony, etc. And then he's saying even some crime is beneficial or functional for the society. How is it functional? थोड़ी बहुत चोरियां, डकैतियां, मर्डर्स अच्छे हैं. वो ऐड आता है ना सर्फ एक्सेल का, थोड़े बहुत दाग अच्छे हैं. कैसे अच्छे हैं? या रेज योर हैंड एंड स्पीक. यस. नाइस. हाँ, वंडरफुल. तो क्या करूं इसका मैं? पूरी बात बोलो ना. Absolutely. And why just capital punishment? Punishment in general serves that purpose. So, as rightly pointed out, crime is functional in the sense, A, it is followed by punishment, right? Which serves as a deterrent, as a reminder to other members of the society that this behavior is not acceptable. So when the society punishes a crime, it kind of reaffirms its commitment to the shared norms, the laws. Yes or no? And it also sends a signal to the other members of the society that such behavior is unacceptable. There will be repercussions. ठीक? Crime is also functional in the sense it enables change in society. It enables change. Criminals of today, or those who are considered as criminal today, may herald a new social order tomorrow. They may be somewhat, pioneers of a future morality. For example, LGBTQIA plus rights activists. They were literally criminals under the Indian law till recently. But thanks to their efforts, you have already had decriminalization of homosexuality. Now we are contemplating accepting same-sex unions or marriages. Yes or no? तो उनके criminal actions, behavior या जो thought patterns थे which ran contrary to the social morality, they are heralding a new morality, making same-sex relations more acceptable in the society at large. Yes, you had raised your hand, beta. What about? Encounters. What about them as in? So, police encounters are, if they are really that, in the sense without sanction and setup, etc., that's what typically alleged, they would be in the nature of a crime themselves. Right? But then also you can see them as playing some functional role. Getting rid, if you were to look at the police lingo or mindset, getting rid of the social scum. Okay? And functional in that sense. Because the law is twisted or the regular judicial process will take too long. Right? So this is like quick justice being dispensed. Huh? Care. So point is, that is why a certain degree of crime is normal and functional for the society. But a very high degree of crime is pathological. सो अगर बड़े बड़े शहरों में छोटी छोटी चोरियां डकैतियां चलती हैं, अच्छी हैं, पर अगर पूरे शहर में आग लग जाए तो वो पैथोलॉजिकल है. ठीक है. डाउरी इन इंडियन सोसाइटी इज नॉर्मल या पैथोलॉजिकल? चेहरों पे रौनक आ गई लड़कों के. इट्स नॉर्मल, accepted, celebrated even, yeah. But bride burning for dowry, वो थोड़ा ज्यादा हो गया. It's more in the nature of pathological. ठीक. चलो. C. Rules for classification of social facts. Rules for classification of social facts. गाइस जल्दी करो, इसके बाद सुसाइड भी करना है ना. Rules for classification of social facts. Now friends, what is in your view the scientific method par excellence? What is the scientific method? क्या होता है साइंटिफिक मेथड मेरे भाइयों? अरे विचेस वगैरह नहीं, 2 शब्द में बता दो. कौन सा मेथड? एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन. होता है कि नहीं होता? साइंटिफिक मेथड जब बोलते हैं दिमाग में क्या आता है? एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन. कैन यू अप्लाई द मेथड ऑफ एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन वेरी वाइडली इन सोशियोलॉजिकल रिसर्च? यस और नो? No, there are many limitations in that. So what do you do? As a sociologist मैं क्या करूं? जॉब छोड़ दूं? क्या करूं? हाँ, so social phenomena are taking place. What do? You pick up data from what is happening in society. Like Durkheim wanted to study suicide. He did not experiment. He did not trigger people to the point of suicide, but suicides were taking place already. So he collected data on suicide. And then what he did? He classified that data into appropriate categories and then processed it objectively to arrive at certain conclusions. ठीक है? So this is what we do. लिखो. Since the scientific method of experimentation has limited application in sociological research, since the scientific method of experimentation has limited application in sociological research, sociologists may rely upon other scientific methods such as the comparative method. While studying society, in order to establish cause-effect relationships. Full stop. For comparison, the sociologist must do एक बात बताओ before you write further. What should we compare? और what can we compare? डेटा तो है ही है. किस डेटा को किस डेटा से कंपेयर कर सकते हैं? नॉन across geography, across time, yes? Yeah? Quantifiable data it is. For example, Durkheim collected data on suicides, and then he had suicide rates for men, for women, for city dwellers, villagers, Protestants, Catholics, Jews, on various parameters, married persons, unmarried persons. Then whom should you compare? Similar. Or you compare the comparables. साफ बात है. Are you with me? You compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges. You do not compare apples with oranges. For example, if I were to say that the suicide rate of men is 3 per lakh population and the suicide rate of rural population is 5 per lakh population, is it a sound comparison? No, then I should compare the suicide rate of men with the suicide rate of women. Suicide rate of rural population with suicide rate of urban population. Yes or no? Suicide rate of married persons with that of unmarried persons or divorced persons or widowed persons. Are you with me? Something of the sort. ठीक है? So you compare comparables. तो लिख लो. क्या लिखा बेटी? Proper classification of the social phenomena into appropriate categories. ठीक. D for Delhi. The next set of rules. Rules for explanation of social facts. Rules for explanation of social facts. Now, while explaining social facts, you need to take care of two things, जो Durkheim साहब ने हमें बताई. The first is simply that you should not assume, I'll make you write, first understand, and you know this already actually. You do not assume that the functions of any social phenomena are also its causes. What do we call if we do this? Teleology. So you avoid teleology. That was Durkheim's first rule while explaining social facts. Clear? We already know the meaning and everything. So likho. According to Durkheim, the causative factors of a social phenomena may be different from the functions which it performs. ठीक? And the second rule regarding the explanation of social facts, which he talks about, is trace social facts. Write down the second rule within D, point D, para D, whatever. Trace social facts to क्या? हाँ, टू ओरिजिन किस चीज में? अदर सोशल फैक्ट्स, ट्रेस सोशल फैक्ट्स टू अदर social facts. Meaning what, friends? Simply meaning that any social phenomena should not be explained by, recourse to nature or biology or psychological factors. Any social phenomena can be explained only in terms of other social phenomena. For example, the next topic we study is Durkheim's study of suicide. Now, suicide as typically understood, as typically explained. How do we typically explain suicide? In terms of psychological factors. That there must be some underlying psychological reasons why X person or Y person committed suicide. He said you cannot explain a social phenomena like suicide by recourse to psychological reasoning or underlying factors. A social phenomena like suicide has to be explained in terms of other social phenomena. So he explained society in terms of other, some underlying reasons found in the nature of the society itself. Clear? Likho. Social facts cannot be explained by reducing them to any underlying natural या biological या psychological factors. I repeat, social facts cannot be explained in terms of any underlying natural, biological or psychological factors. Full stop. The explanation of any social phenomena has to be found in the nature of the society itself. The explanation of any social phenomena has to be found in the nature of the society itself. ठीक है? This is about his theory of social facts. And this was actually a very seminal contribution. That is one of the important reasons why he is regarded as amongst the founding fathers. He helped us give this subject a distinctive identity by identifying what is its specific subject matter. Also gave this new science a methodology. Not only he gave a methodology, he also showed its application in his study of suicide. Please appreciate, as far as Durkheim goes, in his conceptualization of social facts, who is important, the individual or society? Clearly the society. The society is far bigger, far more important and prior to the individual members. In fact, the society is more than the sum total of its parts. Society is not just me plus you plus you plus you plus you plus you. When we all come together, it creates a reality of its own. Are you with me? And that reality then imposes itself on the individuals. लैंग्वेज है बन गई, रिलीजन है बन गया, क्लोथिंग स्टाइल्स बन गए, खाने के तरीके बन गए, फैमिली के जो लिविंग पैटर्न्स होते हैं, फॉर्म्स होते हैं, बन गए. एंड द इंडिविजुअल नाउ मस्ट सबमिट टू दिस सोशल रियलिटी. ही मस्ट कंप्लाई विद द डिमांड्स ऑफ द सोसाइटी. इन डॉर्कहाइम्स कंसेप्चुअलाइजेशन इंडिविजुअल की कोई हैसियत है या नहीं है? बिल्कुल नहीं है. बिल्कुल नहीं है. हिज फोकस इज ऑन द सोसाइटी एज अ होल, द सोशल इंस्टीट्यूशंस विच आर अ पार्ट ऑफ इट, चेंजेस टेकिंग प्लेस इन द होल ऑफ द सोसाइटी. इंडिविजुअल गया बाहर में. ठीक है. And this emphasis on the collective, relegating the individual to the sidelines of analysis, is amply borne out in his concept of social facts. ठीक? With that, we take a well-deserved short break. Yeah. Welcome back. Settle down quickly. Please settle down. Stop the murmur. Now moving to the last, is that correct? Yes, last topic under Durkheim, which is suicide. Before I discuss Durkheim's views on suicide, I want yours. What I want, to begin with, an admission. How many of us have considered, thought of, contemplated committing suicide? Come on, झूठे बच्चों, हाथ खड़े करो. How many of us have ever has that thought crossed our mind? It's okay. It's far more common than that. Far, far more common. Okay, multiply this figure at least by 10. The thought of suicide, not the action. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. Why? Why did we think? Especially those who raise their hands if they are willing to share. What made you think of on those lines? It is a very extreme kind of a step, as how most of us see it. It's not something, anyone would do casually or floatingly, lightly. It is a very extreme kind of a step. Why do people commit suicide? Brother, आपने किया है? मतलब किया नहीं है, सोचा है. हाँ, थॉट्स आते हैं ना, हाँ फिर बोलो. Then you have qualified. Due to hopelessness. हाँ? जब सारी इंसान उम्मीद हार जाता है, then such thoughts cross our mind. Yeah. Anybody else? Depression. It is due to depression. Brother? Due to passing away of a very dear person, maybe loss of a parent, a dear friend, a sibling, a spouse. Beti? This is theoretical, right? Acha. Okay, ठीक है. I should not be putting you in a spot like that. But ठीक है. हाँ. Wow. That's such a poetic way to, that's almost an advocacy. She's saying when the pain of life is more than the pain of letting go. Yes. Betty? How much? No matter how much efforts you put in, you don't get the desired results. Then it feels that everything is futile. जीने के कोई मायने ही नहीं है जब पूरा एफर्ट लगा लिया एंड तब भी सक्सेस इज एल्यूडिंग मी. या और बताइए. सॉरी, ब्रेकअप. Yes, that is a good trigger. Absolutely, it could be the breakup of a relationship, of a marriage. बेटी? Guilt. हाँ, हम सब गड़बड़ काम करते हैं. And then we are like, we are the only ones who know. But what if others find out? Worse, what if they don't? I'll have to live with it. Carry that burden that I've done this horrendous thing. लोग मुझे इतना अच्छा समझते हैं, पर एक्चुअली तो मैं ऐसा हूं, वैसी हूं. हाँ, अकेलापन. हाँ, व्हाट? सिंगल हूं. अगर सिंगल लोग बिकॉज ऑफ बीइंग सिंगल सुसाइड करने लग गए ना, guys, it's a very serious kind of this thing. Huh? Tell me, beta.
Frustration or extra pressure.
Extra pressure to say for financial success, education, qualifying competitive exams like this one or that. Huh? Brother? Sexual crimes. So victims of, say, rape victims or those who face, say, sexual abuse. Yes? Individual? Dignity. So when one loses one dignity, is that what you're suggesting? In the society, and what may lead to one losing dignity? Say rape, for instance. It is considered or associated with the loss of honor of the rape victim. Yes? Stereotype. जैसे शादी कर दो ठीक हो जाएगा. यस. हाँ. बिल्कुल. So a gap between the societal expectations and one's own inclination or abilities, etc., on any parameter such as sexual behavior in this case. Yes? Transgenders. They are not accepted by the society, and that is why. Sorry? I can't hear. Acid attack victims. Domestic violence may be a trigger. Okay. Following somebody blindly, like you have these cult mass suicides led by cult leaders, kind of a thing. Like? Give me an example. Give me an example. You guys are giving me triggers, etc. See, like you said, the death of a near or dear one. You said mental illness, depression, etc. You said failures in examinations, competitive exams, or financial difficulties. Please appreciate, friends. Each and every one of us, no matter what is our social location, we may be rich, middle class, poor, we may be upper caste, higher caste, lower caste, we may be men, women, transgender, we may be Hindu, Muslim, whatever. Each and every one of us will go through ups and downs in life. For none is life like, a bed of roses. For none is life like an upward graph always. Each and every one of us will encounter failures, despite a fair amount of efforts. Each and every one of us will encounter bereavement or death of a dear one, like parents, a spouse. Yes or no? Breakups, etc. are very common. But then some, dhanyavad bhaiya, some commit suicide and others don't. Why? सबको फाइनेंशियल दिक्कतें आती हैं, रिलेशनशिप प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं, सब टाइप की दिक्कतें आती हैं, करियर प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं. यस, बट व्हाई डू सम, ब्रदर? लैक ऑफ इमोशनल सपोर्ट. यस, Internally as in? Some people are emotionally weak. Okay. Yes? जो सुइसाइड कर लेते हैं दे आर नॉट अवेयर कि ये होना सबके साथ ही होता है. हम्म हम्म हम्म. ओके. यस बेटी. वही a sense of despondency या hopelessness. हाँ brother. Tolerance levels. They differ from person to person. Some of us are able to take setbacks better than others. Some of us are able to take failures, loss of relationships due to bereavement or due to breakups, etc. better than others. And what decides that? Who takes it? Who takes the hit better while who doesn't? Depends on what? Depends on what? Ki who takes these hits, these bouncers of life better, and who doesn't? Brother? Yeah, you raised your hand. Okay, which is okay. Of course, they won't be exactly the same. There would be variations in intensity, variations in frequency. Lot of such would be there. So, are you suggesting only the most severely hit would fall or commit suicide? Say, a very crude example, a person who loses, say, 4 members of a family in an accident will commit suicide, but a person who loses only a single member won't. Beti? So when you start caring less for what others are thinking, that's when you're able to tide over. Huh? Beti? Well explained, well put. Huh? So your family connections will prevent a person from taking the extreme step. Brother? The upbringing and the present mental state. Elaborate on that a bit.
Let's suppose there is a tragedy with the individual, with some family or with himself also. So, how he perceives that tragedy
depending on their psychological makeup, their way of thinking. Huh?
Like many people also think that suicide is a way of escaping this world which is full of pain and
But isn't that a very objective assessment?
at that time.
ठीक है. See, that is how typically suicide is explained. In terms of the underlying psychological factors that result in a person taking this extreme step. Whether it was in Durkheim's times or even till date, suicide by and large is viewed as a psychological phenomena. The explanations of suicide are sought to be found in the psyche of the person or the mental state of the person. Yes or no? So if a person commits suicide or is in the verge of committing suicide, counselors, etc., police or whoever, medical practitioners, they would do what? Delve into the psyche, the mental state of the person. Are you with me? Oftentimes, suicide is also explained in terms of some underlying psychological conditions, like say some childhood trauma, or some recent psychological illness, say a bout of depression. Are you with me? That is how suicide is typically understood. It was also the case during Durkheim's times. Durkheim categorically rejected psychological explanations of suicide. He said nothing doing, suicide rate is not due to mental illness, depression, or the like. I said Durkheim clearly rejected any psychological basis or explanations of suicide. He said suicide is not due to, and he also rejected various other factors or other explanations of suicide which were popular then. You know, for example, some people tend to give a biological explanation of suicide. Even today, scientists are trying to locate what is called the suicide gene. Gene hota hai, Gene. In other words, there is an inherited tendency to commit suicide. So if somebody has a family history of suicide, okay, then according to this explanation, there is likelihood of another suicide down the line. Okay, or in the subsequent generations. Because there is some sort of a genetic trigger. There are some theories of suicide which explain it in terms of the weather conditions. Ki gloomy weather triggers suicide. Have you ever experienced such kind of a weather? Even in Delhi you have it. Say sometime in November, December. It's like very cold and romantic on one hand, and at the same time it is somewhat very depressing and gloomy. I don't know if you can only understand it if you've experienced it. हाँ? रेनी में भी होता है ऐसे ऐसे, है ना? हाँ, when you don't have clear skies and visibility low होती है, पता नहीं कुछ तो ऐसे दिल में अजीब से आत्महत्या के ख्याल आते हैं. ठीक है? So Durkheim rejected such various other explanations of suicide and explained suicide as a sociological phenomena. In other words, the reasons for suicide are not to be found in the psyche of the individual. They are to be found where? In the nature of the society. And this was not Durkheim's pure theorizing, or it was not a figment of his imagination. For his arguments he gave kaisa basis? Empirical basis. He collected empirical data about suicides in different countries, based on which he came to this conclusion. So he collected data regarding suicide rates in different regions or countries or societies. Processing that data, he came to the conclusion that, I'll explain to you how. He came to the conclusion how suicide is a social phenomenon, not a psychological phenomenon. And he showed the application of the scientific method to study social phenomena in this study in his book titled Le Suicide. Le Suicide is what? What you in English call de suicide. Durkheim said in French, le suicide. Okay? The suicide. Le literally means the. This book came out in 1897. And in it, he compiled or used the statistics regarding suicide compiled from different societies for a fairly long period. 10-12 years between 1860s and 1870s. Okay? And what that data told him, I'll give you a hypothetical data. So don't copy the data, it's nutty. But I'm just trying to make a point. What Durkheim discovered from this data. So say he collected data of 1861, 1862, 1863, 1872, 1873, 1882. ठीक है, बहुत सारे years का, every year का data he had. For different societies. Say he had the data for France, he had the data for England, he had the data for Prussia करके एक country होती थी तब, he had the data for Germany, whatever. ठीक है? And how the data looked? It looked something like this. Say in France, the suicide rate is 1 per lakh population in 1861. Suicide rate would be per basis population. So let's say per lakh population. In France, there is 1 death by suicide per lakh population. In 1861, 1862, it will be 1.01, 0.99, 1, 1.001, 0.999, 1.0, ऐसे करके कुछ डेटा इसके हाथ आया. In England, the data was, say, 12, 12.01, 12.0, 11.99. समझ रहे हो? लगभग 12 year after year. In Prussia, it was of the magnitude of 236. ठीक है? In other words, friends, what data revealed that suicide rate varies greatly from one society to another. Suicide rate varies greatly from one society to another. But within a society, over several years, over a long period, it remains near constant or quite similar. Are you with me? I repeat, the suicide rate varied greatly from one society to another. The data is fuzzy, the argument is asli. Okay? Suicide rate varied greatly from one society to another, but remained near constant in a society year after year. So from this kind of data, Durkheim inferred. What does this tell us? There must be something about the nature of the French society that year after year, only about 1 persons per lakh are committing suicide, and something very different in the nature of the Prussian society, that year after year, far many more people, 200 plus are per lakh population are committing suicide. That is why he concluded, friends, that the reasons for suicide are to be located in the nature of the society and not the psyche of the individual. ठीक है? So from this kind of data, Durkheim inferred that the reasons for suicide are to be found in the nature of the society. Reasons for suicide are to be found in the nature of the society. In fact, Durkheim writes very poetically, may I say, every society demands from its members a fixed quota of voluntary deaths. हर समाज अपने मेंबर से कुछ बलियां मांगता है. A suicidal current passes through every society. A suicidal current passes through every society. Some of its members succumb to that current. Some of its members succumb to that current. Succumb मतलब given, उसके हत्थे आ जाते हैं. ठीक है? साफ बात है, ये मरा या वो मरा, ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता. टोटल कितने मरे वो कौन तय कर रहा है? समाज तय कर रहा है. Some features or aspects of collective life determine the rate of suicide. Clear? So he had a very empirical basis to his study of suicide. And based on this empirical study, Durkheim says that suicide is of 4 types. 4 प्रकार की आत्महत्याएं होती हैं. But before we come to the types of suicide, we need to, or before we conduct the study of suicide, we need to define suicide. Very simple definition, लिखो. According to Sri Durkheim, suicide refers to all cases of death resulting directly or indirectly from any positive or negative act of the who? Of society. Chal. Of the victim himself. कौन सा इंडिविजुअल? बतेर इंडिविजुअल होते हैं सोसाइटी में. ऑफ द विक्टिम हिमसेल्फ. I repeat, suicide refers to all cases of death resulting directly or indirectly from any positive or negative act of the victim himself, in which case he knows that it will produce this result. क्या रिजल्ट? हाँ, द डेथ है ना. सो दैट इज सुइसाइड. क्लियर? द डेफिनेशन इज रीजनेबली अंडरस्टूड एंड सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी. ऑल केसेस ऑफ डेथ रिजल्टिंग फ्रॉम अ डायरेक्ट और इनडायरेक्ट, directly or indirectly from an action of from any positive or negative act of the victim himself, in which case he knows that it will result in this.
Can we also quote some data here, like for example, Indian society versus Japanese society, where the death rates or the suicide rates are quite higher? So we can quote the data from the sort of GS paper.
Absolutely. Her question is, can we quote data from whatever we've picked up in our studies of GS paper, say comparing suicides in India versus suicides in Japan? You are welcome to, if it helps to make your point. Please do. But don't attribute it to Durkheim, because he didn't do that. But yeah, you can do that. हर केस में पता होगा, तभी वो सुइसाइड कहलाएगा. कुछ अनजाने में कर दूं, मुझे पता ही ना मेरी उससे मौत हो जाएगी और मेरी मौत हो जाए, तो दैट्स नॉट सुइसाइड. पता होना या अवेयरनेस होना इज इंपॉर्टेंट. पॉजिटिव एक्ट्स और नेगेटिव एक्ट्स मीन व्हाट? पॉजिटिव एक्ट्स आर थिंग्स यू डू which lead to your death. For example, if I drink poison, that's a positive act. If I put a bullet through my head, that's a positive act. Negative act matlab you stop doing something which results in your death. For example, if I stop eating food, something which I normally do, and now, so positive act in the sense there is some action undertaken. Negative act in the sense cessation of activity or stopping activity. Okay, clear? Chaliye, so this is his definition of suicide. So there are two social factors that affect the rate of suicide in the society. Two social factors affect the rate of suicide in society, namely the level of social integration and the level of moral regulation in society. The level of social integration and moral regulation in the society. Social integration means what? Socialization, na? That's incorrect if you say that. Very good. Interconnectedness, or how strong are the bonds binding the individual to the society. That is social integration. Okay? The strength of the bonds binding the individual to the society. For example, who is less integrated in the society? Married persons or unmarried persons? Who are less integrated in the society? Married or unmarried? Unmarried persons. ठीक? Because marriage forms very strong bonds. The husband-wife bond, the parent-child bond after childbirth, and several others, right? The second is moral regulation. What do you understand by moral regulation? The extent to which the actions of the individuals are controlled and guided by the society. Yes, that would be an aspect of it. Absolutely. Moral regulation meaning the extent to which the actions of the individual are steered or controlled, guided by the society. Is moral regulation good or bad? Broadly, is it good or bad? From a functional perspective, it's good, it's necessary. Is social integration good or bad? Good. Broadly, it is good. In the sense, it is necessary. It holds the society together. Right? Can you please call somebody from the outside? पानी दे दीजिए प्लीज, और उसके बाद चाय भी. So these are the two factors which determine the rate of suicide in society, and based on the level of these two factors there are 4 types of suicide. When the level of social integration is excessively low, okay, you have what is called the egoistic suicide. First type of suicide, please write down, egoistic suicide. Egoistic suicide dash. When the level of social integration in a society, please write, when the level of social integration in a society or social group is excessively low, I repeat, when the level of social integration in a society or social group is excessively low, some members of it may commit what Durkheim calls as egoistic suicide. For example, friends, where would you expect the social integration being excessively low? and therefore a higher suicide rate. In case of urban societies or rural society? Urban या rural? Urban society. Urban society, the level of social integration is very low. Yes or no? There is heightened individualism. In rural societies, people are very strongly bound with the community. There is a greater sense of community, we feeling, belonging together in villages than in the cities. So due to excessively low levels of social integration in cities, urban areas have a higher suicide rate. Of which type? Egoistic suicide. Likewise, where do you expect far lower levels of social integration resulting in higher incidence of egoistic suicide? Amongst married या unmarried persons? Unmarried persons. So unmarried persons had a higher suicide rate than married persons, again because of low levels of social integration resulting in egoistic suicide. Also, Durkheim compared, say, the suicide rates of Catholic Christians and Protestant Christians. Catholics and Protestants, these are two types of Christians, a loose word. Okay? Like you have Shia, Sunni amongst Muslims, likewise you have Catholics and Protestants amongst Christians. We'll discuss what are the differences between them sometime later when we study Weber. But broadly, consider it this: Catholics are more conventional. Catholics are, in Catholic Christianity, prayer is, or worship is more community oriented. It's a community affair. While amongst Protestants, it's an individualized affair. Okay, due to various reasons. So Protestants, the typical Protestant would in fact pray at home or alone in a church, while the Catholics would pray in groups, go to the Sunday Mass regularly, etc. It's a lot of community, this thing. Where would you expect far lower levels of social integration and therefore corresponding high rate of egoistic suicide? Protestants. So Protestants had a higher suicide rate than Catholics because of far lower levels of social integration. ठीक है? लिखिए, in such cases the individual does not have strong bonds binding him to the community. ठीक है? So he feels untethered. Untethered मतलब without an anchor, without roots in the society, without something to cling on to or hold on to. Are you with me? Tether basically means बांधे रखना. उसको कुछ बांधे रखने के लिए नहीं है समाज से. He lacks a sense of belongingness to a community. ठीक? Lacks the sense of belongingness to a community. Another type of suicide is when you have very high, excessively high levels of social integration, what he calls altruistic suicide. बहुत ज्यादा इंटीग्रेशन भी दिक्कत का काम, बहुत कम इंटीग्रेशन भी दिक्कत का काम. Forget socio for a bit. What do you understand by the word altruism in English? Paropkari, dayavan. Dayavan is like more like kind. But yeah, altruist is somebody who thinks of others before himself, doing things for others. Yeah? Large-hearted and, selfless, kind of others-oriented rather than self, this thing. That is altruism. Achhai karna, auron ka bhala karna. Like that. So, I'll make you right also. Basically, when a person is very strongly integrated in a community or the society, then what happens? He is willing to lay down his life for the larger society. The life of the individual is very less important compared to the well-being of the society. Oftentimes for the honor of the community, people may lay down their lives. Are you with me? Such types of suicide are altruistic. Likh lo. When the level of social integration is excessively high in a society or social group, when the level of social integration is excessively high, some of its members may commit altruistic suicide. औरों की खातिर अपनी जान दे देना. Okay? That is altruistic suicide. Full stop. In such conditions, the life of the individual is considered as a small sacrifice for the greater good. Greater good matlab good of the society or the community. Or to uphold the norms and values of the society, or for the sake of honor of the society. Any examples come to mind? Go there and do something. Wonderful. So Chernobyl was a nuclear disaster in then USSR, and some people, he's saying, volunteered to do something, right? Like risk their life for the greater good. They went into the water, they were required to do something. Yeah. Kamikaze it is called. Japanese pilots, they would, literally do something which would definitely result in their death. Crash the aircraft on the ships of the enemy ships. Wonderful. Beti? That's called kamikaze, right? Ha. Poti Sri Ramalu died fasting for the demand of the creation of Andhra Pradesh, the first state for the Telugu speaking people. Wonderful. Rani Padmavati committed Johar for the sake of protecting the honor of the Rajputana community. So all these are examples. Kamikaze ho, Johar ho, Sati Pratha ho, 9/11 bombers. Were what? They were also doing it for the sake of the community, the cause. So these are all examples of altruistic suicide. Third, the next parameter is moral regulation. So based on the level of moral regulation, ये क्या है यहाँ पे? When the level of moral regulation in a society, is excessively low, then some people commit what he terms as anomic suicide. This is moral regulation. When the level of moral regulation in a society is excessively low, some people may commit anomic suicide. When in a society or social group, लिख लिया ना वो, same sentence. When in a society or social group, the level of moral regulation is excessively low, some members may commit anomic suicide. For example, friends, when there is, say, rapid economic changes, okay, why is it called anomic suicide? Anomy is what? Lack of regulations or norms. Are you with me? Regulations are required according to a functional perspective. We need regulations. We need the society to tell us how to conduct ourselves. But when the society is unable to, it's an anomic situation. So for example, when there are rapid economic changes, particularly when the economy goes bust. When the economy goes bust, during severe economic downturns, a good number of people may commit anomic suicide. For example, friends, a stock market crash. So a lot of, say, middle class people would invest their life savings in the stock markets, wanting to make a quick buck, seeing the success of a Harshad Mehta. Sabko Harshad Mehta banna hai, Ambani banna hai, and then Harshad Mehta does what he does, plunging the stock markets and people's fortunes with that. So society is unable to temper the greed of the people. That भैया कितना कमा रहे हो, 30,000 50,000 रुपया, वो सही है, sufficient है, उसमें संतुष्टि करो. Are you with me? So during severe economic downturns, or when there is severe economic crash or downturn, a lot of people commit anomic suicide because the society is unable to provide them guidelines or regulations. Alright? Likewise, during the Great Depression in the West, in US, etc., in 1929-30 around, right? People had very high hopes which all came crashing down due to sudden widespread unemployment. So a lot of people committed anomic suicide. Very interestingly, Durkheim says that, even when people land into a sudden big fortune, when the going is good, some people may commit anomic suicide. So it happens during times of both economic boom and economic bust. The bust part makes intuitive sense. You've lost everything and you commit suicide. But why should one commit suicide when the going is good? Was Durkheim Bavla? Or how do you explain that? It doesn't appeal to our common sense understanding. He says if somebody lands a fortune, then also they might commit. It's rare, but it is possible and it happens. Yes? Loneliness. Okay. Now nothing is left to do. I've achieved everything. Let's go. Break on through to the other side. Kiska gana hai ye? Have you heard this sentence? Break on through to the other side. Don't make me sing it. Yes? Typically then, when you come into a sudden fortune, yeah, and did he commit suicide? Very interesting. I didn't know of Robert Clive. Good, he did. ठीक है. हाँ.
Very recently, SSR, he committed suicide.
Sushant Singh Rajput. Huh? So, in fact, have you heard of this Club 27? There's something called Club 27. Basically, a lot of highly popular rock stars in the West, they have committed suicide by the age of 27 or at the age of 27. Literally at the peak of their careers. Okay, from Kurt Cobain, I don't know if you've heard of these people, or Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, that song, Break On Through to the Other Side, that was Jim Morrison, the Doors ka lead singer. More recently, Amy Winehouse, है ना, ये सब हमारे ज़माने के, एमी वाइनहाउस आप लोगों के ज़माने की हैं, ठीक है, और not exactly 27, but young, death at the peak of career, Marilyn Monroe, right? Lot of such cases are there. Super successful people, loads and tons of money, coming typically from, relatively far modest backgrounds, suddenly into a lot of spotlight, public adulation, attention of the opposite sex, which you want at that age and stage in life. Are you with me? और क्या चाहिए जीवन में इंसान को? They have it all. And then you read in the newspapers one fine day that by a drug overdose or this or that, a gun to their head, and they have committed suicide. Which seems very odd. ये सब कुछ होते हुए भी क्यों किया इसने? So how Durkheim would explain it, when people attain a lot in a short span of time, the society is again, they become kind of, out of control for the society. So the normal regulations of society do not apply to them, or they feel above and beyond them. Are you with me? Therefore, the society is unable to provide them direction, guidelines. As some of you rightly also pointed out, they get this sense of not being rooted. Because, they lose friends from where they came. Connections and friends, etc. from where they came. And they have not yet made ample connections in where they are. तो क्या ही करोगे आप? Suicide. ठीक है? A case somewhat closer home was that of Honey Singh. He didn't commit suicide, but he did get into that spiral of drug overdose, etc., having attained a lot of success. You may have read about it. So ये भी होता है. It's rare, but it is like known to happen, kind of a thing. ठीक है? Finally, क्या बच गया? When the level of moral regulation in a society or social group is excessively high, then you have what he calls fatalistic suicide. Fatalistic suicide. Some student is sharing other names also. Avisil. Who is Avisil? I don't know. Avichil maybe. What? Who is he or she? Musician? DJ? क्या which band or solo? मतलब it goes by the name Avichil. And Chester Bennington. Linkin Park. हाँ. ठीक है? So, कहाँ थे? हाँ, we were talking about fatalistic suicide. What do you understand by the word fatalistic? Forget in the context of suicide in English. Have you heard the word fatalistic? No. Life-threatening is fatal, which is different. Fatal, जिसमें जान जा सकती है, खतरनाक, life-threatening, that is fatal, which is different. Fatalistic attitude, we say. Kind of. When you basically leave things to destiny or fate. Okay? Oh, that is a fatalistic attitude. Okay? Now, that's the English connotation. Now, let's come to his theory of suicide. Basically, when वो sentence लिख लिया standard, when in a society or social group the level of moral regulation is excessively high, then some members may commit fatalistic suicide. Now, basically what happens, friends, कि in such cases, when there's a lot of regulation, excessive regulation, what happens? That the individual feels completely having lost any control over his own life. His each and every action is then determined by, controlled by, decided by others, the society or authority figures, etc. So he feels very powerless, very impotent, unable to, take even the seemingly most petty decisions about his own life, ordinary decisions about one's own life. For example, when you have suicides in prisoners, now their life is very regimented. Please appreciate. Highly regimented. Each and every aspect of their life is decided by the prison authorities. Are you with me? So as a prisoner, you are stripped of all individuality. Or say I read this beautiful book by Viktor Frankl regarding life in a Nazi concentration camp. क्या नाम है बुक का? Man's Search for Meaning. Wonderful book, highly recommended, like whenever you get time in life. But so what would happen in a concentration camp or say in a prison also? Your life is very regimented. You are stripped of all individuality. So your head is shaven, right? And you are made to wear prison clothes like the others. The authorities would decide that you get up at 6 a.m., then you do your daily ablutions by 6:30 a.m., you bathe naked with the other prisoners and be ready by 7 a.m., then you have to spend 1 hour in the kitchen, then 1 hour in the garden doing this or that. Are you with me? So you feel that sense of powerlessness. You feel suffocated. as if nothing is in my hands. It's all up to others, authorities. And in such situations, some of them may commit fatalistic suicide. तो लिखो, in such conditions, the society or authority figures control and direct the actions of the individual very minutely. वेरी माइन्यूटली, ठीक है, माइन्यूटली मतलब बारीकी से, छोटी बड़ी सब चीज, फुल स्टॉप. दिस लीव्स नो स्कोप फॉर द इंडिविजुअल टू टेक even routine decisions governing his life, governing his own life. ऐसे लिखो, governing his own life, full stop. The individual feels suffocated and helpless. ठीक है? So these are the 4 types of suicide. Now friends, 2 of these types you are more likely to encounter in traditional society and 2 other types in modern society. You tell me which 2 types of suicide you would expect more in traditional society. Or look at it this way, in traditional society, what is the level of moral regulation and social integration you expect? Both on the higher side or lower side? Higher side. So which types of suicide? Altruistic suicide and fatalistic suicide. And in modern society, egoistic and anomic suicide, because moral regulation and social integration levels are in general lower in case of modern society. But it's not like a clear-cut division, of course. Okay? In general, I'm saying. Okay? With that, we are done with Durkheim's theory of suicide. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.